Al Angelo from A Plus Racing, bringing you another video on how to put your car on the front row. So you remember we were building our Pro-Built motor? So I'm getting back to it today. So I want to go ahead and button up the front of this up. So I want to show you how I can do it and some tricks to make your car faster. All right. So the first step I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put this thermostat housing assembly back together. So this has got to go together next. So I have the thermostat housing right here. Now this is for a 1.8. If it was a 1.6, it looks slightly different. This is a 1.8. And if you notice, there's a groove right here. What goes in that groove is the O-ring. So I have a brand new O-ring, and I always highly recommend you use a brand new O-ring. And I set it inside here, but you see the O-ring doesn't fit real well. They rarely ever do. Sometimes they're hard to get in there, but a lot of times they'll fit loose like this, and I'm afraid it's going to fall off as I'm going on there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of RTV, and I'm just going to go right around here with it like that. Not a lot, just enough to hold the O-ring. The O-ring is supposed to be doing the job, not the RTV. Okay. So I set this in the groove, like that. All right, and now it won't fall off. Okay, so I got my 2 bolts. I'm going to set these on there. Okay, and I know my O-ring's not going to fall off. If it does go on and it kind of sticks, I'm really careful about when I put this on, that I push the housing up against the head so that the O-ring doesn't have an opportunity to fall off if I didn't use the RTV. You saw that the RTV held it on there pretty good. So, all right. These are 12. So anytime that you got these 12s like this, they're usually torqued somewhere between 14 and 19 pounds. Click. If you heard that, torque wrench. All right. Okay. So those are good. That's perfect. All right. Now we can put on the timing cover. So on this part right here, it can go on this way and it can go on this way. But there's only one right way. But make sure that you put this thing on, okay? Don't do that thing where they're counting teeth on the belt to figure out the cam timing. Man, I get so many calls from people like, it won't start. And I found out to use that count the teeth method. So if you look real close here, there's an E and there's an I, okay? Those have to be facing towards you. Those are your timing marks for when we go to set the timing. If you notice on the back side, you can't see them. So if you put it on backwards, you're not going to be able to see them. All right, so it goes on like this. And these are held on with 6 kind of tiny little bolts like this. So we're going to go ahead and set these in here. Now, one of the biggest problems I run into these little bolts is when I tell the high school kids to put them in, they think it's a lug nut. And they try torquing the thing to 100 pounds. It's just a little bolt. So these things here usually get torqued somewhere around 10 foot-pounds, you know, or maybe 120 inch-pounds. So I just snug them down with a speed handle. 10 mil. Oh yeah, you see this? This is a rarity in the shop. A 10 millimeter socket. I hide them. They have to. I think the kids eat them. All right, there. Okay, so I'm seeing something on this water pump here. Let's fix this right now. So let me show you to you. Come over here onto my right. I'm going to show you what this plate's doing. So this plate is hitting right here. See that? And it's flexing. So what I'm going to do is make sure that that plate goes behind this water pump. So this water pump is an aftermarket water pump. It's not a Mazda one. And it's brand new, but it's not a Mazda one. And it looks like it wants to do something like that. Okay? So it wants to do that, and we will let it. All right. The rest of this should all be the same. Okay. Hey, I got a comment from a guy from the UK, man. I didn't even know they raced Miatas out there. And I've got one from Ireland. So I'm happy to know that people are racing these cars all over the world, and that my video is helping people from all over the world. Okay. Oh yeah, that feels better. Okay. So I'm going over these once, and I'm not really tightening them really tight. I'm just kind of snugging them down. But then I'm going to come back over, and I'm going to double check my work. But I want to make sure that I don't break them off. So I'm just kind of putting a little pressure on there. I mean, if you want to put Loctite on all this stuff, it wouldn't be a bad idea. Okay. All right. We got that. All right. Well, let's go ahead and put our gears on. I got them right here. All right. So if you remember, this is the exhaust side. You can tell I got an exhaust manifold over here. So this pin needs to go on the E. So it needs to go right there. Okay, because this is the exhaust side. So the pin goes on like that. And this goes on. Okay, and that's a 14 mil. Okay. And then the other one is the intake side. So this is the intake. So here's the eye. So we're going to line up the eye right there. Make sure you don't skip this step. I can't tell you how many times people, they can't get it started. They don't know that that has to go into a certain little slot there or it won't start. Okay. All right. Okay, so I'm going to tighten them up. So I've got a 26 millimeter, and there's like a bolt right here that I can hold on to, all right, and I can tighten this up. Okay. I guess if I was to torque this, it would probably be somewhere between 25 and 30. Okay. All right. Also, if you don't have a 26, you can use an 1 1/16. I think they're the same size. Okay. So I got those on. Let's work down below here. Let's go and get our pulleys on there. Okay, so I've got my, this is my tensioner pulley, and it needs to have a spring, and it's going to go on this side. So the spring goes right here, and then the spring goes on this pin right here. Okay, so sometimes I put it all together after this is already on. I'm going to try to do it in one take here. And then down here, if you look down here, there's a pin there with a hole. So this has got to go in there, and this goes like that. Okay. All right. So let me snug that down. And none of this is hard. It's all really easy. So I hope that by me narrating this whole thing that you guys are able to follow step by step. I'm going to go ahead and push this all the way as far as it can go that way. It's going to help me when I go to put my timing belt on. Okay. And then the second pulley, it's just a bolt. And it just goes right on here. All right, now it's very important that you get that other pulley in those little, the notches all lined up in the spring and everything, because, you know, I bought that number 20 silver car and we were at the track driving it around, and all of a sudden it stopped running. And it took me about 2 hours to figure out that it had shredded the timing belt. And it was because this pulley wasn't installed correctly. So somebody had installed it and then got it bent and it was in there crooked, you know, wiped the belt out and then the thing stopped running. But we got it back going again. All right. So this all looks good. So let's continue to move down. Let's go on down here to our crankshaft. All right. So on the crankshaft, the next part that goes on is our lower timing gear. So this is where it has a keyway. So I have a keyway right here. All right. So it's got a slot right here. You can see it on the bottom right here. It's got a slot. Okay. And so this keyway has a chamfered edge on this side and a chamfered edge on this side. So the chamfered edges go towards the crankshaft and back, okay? So if you notice, this doesn't have any chamfered edges. This side does, okay? So this sits in there. I'm gonna get this in there. There we go. Okay. And I'm going to line this up on there. All right. Like that. There we go. Okay. Wasn't that easy? Not that hard, huh? All right. So we got that in. So what I'm going to do now is I want to start getting ready to put in my timing belt. And so I want to set this at top dead center number 1. And so, and actually this pin is where we need to look for. And I'll show you, there's another mark down here. So I'm going to turn this. It's kind of tricky to turn this thing while it's like this. So what I do is I just take a straight screwdriver. Okay, and I just rotate it like that. Make sure the spark plugs are out of the head. If the plugs are in the head, it's going to be really hard. Okay, so Sarah has a little V-notch. And I'm going to put that V-notch right there. See, that pin is straight up, okay? So I'm looking at that right there. All right, so kind of now we're all set for the timing belt. All right, and here's the timing belt. Outside of that little silver number 20 car and my own personal race car 15 years ago, I've never seen a timing belt break. Okay, those are the only 2 ever. And, oh, I guess we're not going to use this one. So I'll find another timing belt. This timing belt's no good, okay? So I'll grab another timing belt. I don't use brand new timing belts on the engine, and I'll tell you why. The reason why I don't use a brand new timing belt is because when you put a brand new belt in there, they stretch. And then once they stretch, you lose a little power. Okay, so I've never seen a belt break. I see them get damaged from time to time, but I've never seen one break off completely, other than that car and one other one. So I got a stack of these, and I will be right back with another timing belt, and then we'll go ahead and we'll put this front together. Okay, I'm back. And look, I got a good timing belt this time. All right, so this one's decent. There's no missing teeth. I look for that. You know, I look to make sure it's not cracking anywhere. This one looks pretty good, and so it's not brand new, so we're going to fly with this one. All right, so this is already set. So I need to set this one and this one, okay? So I'm going to show you the way I do it. It only takes me a couple of minutes to set it up, but I know the kids in my class, they take 2-3 days, okay? So, and although I tell them, watch the video, it still takes them 2-3 days. All right, so if you follow these steps, okay, then it's going to go right on, all right? All right, here we go. All right, so come over my left shoulder here. Okay, so we know we're good down here, so I'm going to put that one on. Okay, and so I'm going to keep tension on it, and I need to set this one up. So this one's going to be set up to where the eye, which there's a dot right here, and there's an eye, is lined up right there. And it's almost pretty close. So I'm just going to touch it up a little bit. Right there. That's off one tooth. So let's go the other way. Okay. All right. So now I have the bottom set, and I have my exhaust set. So now this one has an E, and here's the E. So I'm going to line it up on the E. So I'm going to turn the wrench with this. It's going to be right there. I'm going to walk it over. Okay. And then I'm pushing tension on it with my finger here, and I'm going to loosen up the tensioner. And if you remember that spring that we had in there, see how that came right back? All right, so it's taken the slack off. I moved all the slack to this side. And if I look at it, and I take right here the notch, and I follow it back, you could see that it's not lined up with this. It's kind of lined up with this one. So that just tells me I'm off by one tooth. So let's go ahead and move this one back. And one tooth, it'll start, but you won't have any power. Okay, so I got that back. And I'm going to come come back on here. I'm going to pull the belt off carefully. Okay, come down 1 tooth. Well, I think that's that right there. That looks like it. All right. Okay, so I'm going to come back down here, crack it loose. Spring's going to take up the tension right there. Okay, so let me check. Okay, there's my notch for my I, and I come back and I'm lined up right on there. Here's my notch for my E, and I'm going to come back and I'm lined up right there. So, okay, so that looks good. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and tighten this up. I don't have to push on this or anything like that. It's already got the tension that it needs. So I'm just making sure that everything is tight. Okay, so I told you that was easy. All right, not too much slack there. That's perfect. Okay, all right, so let's continue. Okay, so next part is going to be down here. So, and this is the next part that goes on. So this is going to go on like this. All right, here's where I've had trouble. Okay, you see this one? How all the bolts are broke off? Okay, I've seen that happen, and especially on NBs. And I think what's going on is when we try to tighten the squeal out of the alternator belt, it puts so much pressure on the harmonic balancer that it breaks it off. So what I've done is I've gone out and I buy the grade 8 metric bolts. Okay, so the grade 8 ones, so they don't break off as easy. And I haven't seen these bust off because when this harmonic balancer breaks off, for some reason, all the flywheel bolts come loose. And so even though you fix this, it sounds like a rod knock. And I made a video of that earlier in the year about the rod knock, and I actually did it to one of my cars, and I started up and let you listen to it, how loud it was. But it's because the flywheel bolts fall off. So make sure that you put better bolts in it than the stock ones. All right, it's got a little notch in it, and that just goes on that notch right there. So don't ever hit that with a hammer, okay? It's kind of soft metal. For some reason, the kids think it's a nail, and they beat on it with a hammer. So that's it, okay? That's on there. All right. So the next part is going to be the lower timing cover. Now, if you notice, this lower timing cover looks in perfect shape. The reason why is because I buy brand new ones, all right? So I always buy a brand new lower, at least a lower timing cover. And the reason why is because these things get hot and cold and they're oily and greasy, and this thing warps. And you can tell when you put a used one on here that it doesn't line up really well, okay? Well, if it's that warped, then we're throwing off our timing marks. Okay, so if I have to use these to time it with a timing light and it's all warped and bent or not fitting on there right, then I'm not getting an accurate reading on my timing light. So, you know, these aren't that expensive. I order it from Mazda, and we're good to go. All right, so let's go ahead and put this on like that. Okay, you can see it fits in there pretty snug. All right. Little 10 millimeter bolts. So this one in here. And I just bring them down a little at a time. They've got little guide pins, and the guide pins need to go into that oil pump. So I'm just kind of careful about how I put them in there. Okay. So there's a little work going on in the shop today. Mike's getting his beater car ready for this weekend. Hey, Mike, if you guys are done with that and need to pull it out, go ahead and back out my truck and pull it out. Okay, so the next cover is in. Okay, so I set this in there. I got my bolt already here. And, you know, sometimes I buy all 3 covers. Sometimes I just buy the bottom one. In this case, this engine didn't have that many miles on it. Okay. There's a little slot right here. that you can see where it fits in. So there's nothing holding this side, just that little slot. And then that bolt holds that side. Okay? All right. Okay. This one I flex it a little bit as I go in. Seems like it makes okay. And then this is just held in with 4 bolts. So we're going to set these in there. Now later on I might have to put some little accessory holders on the end of these. I know I will. So in the next video we'll go ahead and I'll show you what those are. Okay. My fancy torque wrench. Click. There we go. Okay. I'm going to put the harmonic on next. We'll be back in just a minute. Be right back. All right. So we're back, and we're going to put the harmonic balancer on. So there's a couple of tricks here. So this is an NB. So it uses an exciting wheel and a sensor in order to set the timing. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you what is legal. You don't have to run this. So what I do is I run one of these. What this is this is a adjustable timing wheel. See how this one just has the holes? And this one is slotted. Okay, so it's slotted so that I can loosen up these bolts and I can move the timing on the car, all right, on an MB. Because with this wheel in there, it's fixed by the computer. You can't adjust it. So this is a way of manipulating the computer to not know what we're doing, and we're moving the timing. So these are legal. So as you can see, I get this from 5X. So what's to keep you from grinding it out? I don't know. I just buy them though. All right, so, and it says this side out. Okay, so this sits in here just like that. Okay, see how it's adjustable? Okay, and then I'm short a couple of these, so I'm just going to set this on there for now. And I got to pick up some more. So it's got a pin, it's got a hole here, it's got a pin right there. Okay, so that goes on there like that. All right, and then what I do is I put these on, but since this engine is going to have to be dynoed when I take it in, because we don't know where we want the timing set. So what I do is I'll put the bolts in, but on the final, after we're done dynoing it, I'll take them out one at a time, put Loctite on them, and then put them back in, okay? And then make sure that I torque them, all right? What am I torquing them to? Probably 10 pounds, 12 pounds, all right? And so then I don't lose where they set the wheel at on the dyno, and I got them Loctite, and they're grade 8. So I'm just going to snug those two down, okay? Just so that I have it like that. Okay. All right. One of the last parts here. Oh, here it is. Okay. Come on to this side. You know what? I'm going to put this in also. So let me put this in. And I'm going to show you how I set up the crankshaft positioning sensor. So be right back. I'm going to grab the right socket here. There we go. That's it. Because I'm going to need to turn this engine. Okay. Okay. So this here is your pickup. All right. And so so the pickup has to go on like this, all right? So it's just held on, and I know it's crazy, man. It's just held on with this one little 10 millimeter bolt. I'm sorry, my big fat hand's in the way. I'll get you here in a second. So it goes on like that. All right. Okay. Now, I need to adjust it so that the timing wheel doesn't hit it. So, and I'm going to get the light here. Okay. So if you notice right in there, there's a gap. Okay. Now, there's a specification for that gap. And actually, if I left that gap like that, it would run. All right. But the actual specification is, for most of us, we just use a business card or a credit card, okay? And I just sit it in there, and I push it down, and there it is. It's adjusted, okay? So business card or something like that. All right, so now I'm going to take it, and without it moving, I'm going to cinch that down. And this is going to end up going up over here, okay? All right. So that concludes the front half of this. I'm definitely going to torque that with an impact gun when I'm ready. I got to get 2 more of these bolts here, and then we'll put them on there. The next step is going to be to put the coolant lines on them. And what I do is I buy a coolant line kit. And so it comes with all of the hoses that we need to replace, like this. Oh, no, that's the fuel hose. But there's a bunch of cooler hoses on here. This one, we'll replace with brand new. And so I buy a kit from Mazda. It comes with every coolant hose the vehicle has. It comes with everything. So that's kind of the next step. We're all done here. We can probably put the valve cover on. So I'll find a valve cover, get it cleaned up, and then we'll do that on the next one. So that's going to wrap this one up. If you have any questions, don't be afraid to put them down there in the comments. Thank you for watching the video. If you liked it and it's helpful, give it a thumbs up. Those always help YouTube to promote my channel when you get those thumbs up. So take the time to do that. And I appreciate you guys viewing the whole video. And you guys have a great holiday. Thank you. Bye now.